So today we're going to make some baked chicken drumsticks. And we're going to make some mashed potatoes. Here I have some plain old organic russet potatoes. So we're going to have the baked chicken. We're going to have the mashed potatoes with some white gravy. Do y'all know how to make white gravy? I am going to show you how to make some white gravy, and it is going to be so easy. You're going to think, why have I never made white gravy for myself before? And then because we are super healthy, in addition to being stressed out, jokes, we're also going to have some steamed broccoli. So goodness gracious, this broccoli is beautiful. So I'm going to make these things. This is just the base, like the base stuff that I'm going to use. For the mashed potatoes, we'll need some milk or cream and some butter. I have some challenge butter here. And then for the chicken, we'll need some onion and garlic, and I'm also going to use lots of spices and such. So let's stop yapping and start with this meal. Yes. Now that my oven is preheated, I am going to start with the chicken. The chicken is going to take the longest to cook, so that's why I'm going to start with it. So I have a dish here. This is a Pyrex dish. It doesn't really matter the size as long as it can fit the amount of chicken that you have. So I have, looks like 6 drumsticks, and this is an 11 by 7 glass baking dish. Again, just use whatever you have. You can also use a cookie sheet. So I am going to lightly spray the bottom of this glass container just to make things a little bit easier when it's time to clean up. Next, I'm going to take some onions. So because I have 6 drumettes or drumsticks, I'm going to use the equivalent of this is like half of an onion or so. And I am going to slice my onion into kind of smallish or thin-ish pieces like this. So now I have my onions sliced up and on the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to just lightly drizzle a little bit of salt and pepper onto the onions. And then I am going to season my chicken. So forgive the camera angle. I actually have like a little rig coming today to help me get some top-down shots. So thanks for sticking with me while I get that sorted out. So for the chicken, my main seasoning is going to be this calatali seasoning. So this is the arrabbiata. I know that's terribly mispronounced, but it's this. So I bought this actually at Marshall's or something. It was like $6.99. I like to go in their little section and check out like their teas and spices and stuff. So this, I bought it because it's really pretty. I know that it's like the most crazy reason to buy seasoning, but it was pretty and I was intrigued. So this one has chili pepper, basil, salt, tomato, parsley, and garlic in it. So even though it has salt and chili pepper, I'm going to also just like kind of gently salt and pepper the chicken anyway. So this is just salt and plain black pepper. Then I'm also going to use some onion powder. Even if you have like fresh onion and garlic and stuff, you can also add powder. So that onion powder was brand new, wasn't opened. So I got my little opened one. This is from like Kroger's. And then I have some garlic. And then this stuff. So I've made food with this before, and honestly, I am not a person who can tolerate a lot of spice. And I thought it was spicy, but like still very tasty. So if you are a little wimp like me and you don't love super spicy food, then just add, a little bit. So I added about a tablespoon, like a heaping tablespoon. And then I'm gonna add some olive oil like this. And now all you need to do is just kind of mix things up. You can do this with your hand, and you can just, use your eyeballs and see like, oh, does this look like I need more? The thing that I learned pretty early on with learning how to cook is that you can add more far easier than you can take away. Sometimes like you can't even take away. One time I made some soup and it was so salty because I was using like a different kind of salt that I wasn't familiar with. And I spent hours trying to save my soup. I'd made like a really big pot of it. And I spent hours trying to like figure out how to how to unsalt my soup, and I wasn't successful. So if you have ideas on how to do that for the next time I mess up, you let me know in the comments. But yeah, so I learned the hard way. It's much better to kind of underdo it and fix it with adding more than to overdo it and try to fix it by taking away. So now my chicken, my drums, my chicken legs, I keep forgetting what these are called. They're all seasoned. And look how pretty. Like, you can question my judgment on buying pretty spices, but come on, you guys. Now this is gorgeous. This is beautiful. All right. So now I'm gonna roll this lemon, which is a little bit of an older lemon, so it's quite juicy. And I am going to cut some lemon slices to also put on my chicken. Make sure to peel off the sticker before you cut the lemon. Do as I say, not as I do in this instance. Okay, and I'm just gonna lay the lemon slices on top, and goodness gracious, beautiful. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And now I am going to take just a little bit of butter and add a few pieces of butter. I'm gonna wash my knife before I use it on the butter. All right, so back with our freshly washed knife. I'm going to just use maybe like 2 tablespoons. I like to measure the butter as best I can most of the times, because if you are also going to use this stick of butter like for baking or something where you need an exact measurement, if you cut off an exact amount before, then you know exactly how much is left, and you don't have to open another stick of butter to have like exactly 6 tablespoons or something. So all right, so now I'm just gonna put my butter here as well, and I'm going to start. I'm actually going to add just a little bit more oil, just a little bit for the onions, because if you don't burn your onions, you can use them to eat as well, not just for flavor. So that's beautiful. I'm super happy with this. So I'm going to start by covering this with some foil, and for a little extra protection, you can lightly spray your foil as well. Okay, So I'm gonna put this in my oven at 400 degrees. I'm going to bake first for 30 minutes and then take the foil off and then continue to bake until the chicken is browned and done. Okay, the next thing to do while your chicken is in the oven, so you can see that I've put my chicken in the oven. You don't need the cookie sheet under your pan. I just forgot mine was in there and it got hot, so I didn't take it out. But the next thing you need to do is to start some water to begin to boil. So this is my steamer pot setup. I've had these pots for like most of my adult life. So you don't need to buy like the pot steamer setup. You can actually just buy a regular steaming basket like this. These are cheap and you can get them at Target or Walmart or whatever. But since I'm making 2 potatoes, I'm just going to use this pot setup since I have it. So I'm going to add enough water in here to steam both the potatoes and the broccoli. So I'm starting that on high heat to begin the water to start to boil. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the potatoes. All you need to do now is just to peel your potatoes. If you want them peeled, you can actually, of course, eat the potato skin, but I am going to just peel my potatoes. So I don't peel out every single little imperfection. You don't really have to. You can if you want to. But if the potato is a little like super dark looking, I do lop off that little part. So now I have my potatoes peeled and, well, mostly peeled and rinsed. So I am going to cut the potatoes in slightly smaller pieces just to help them steam a little bit faster. I don't remember if I said it or not, but if you follow the order of operations that you see me doing in this video, everything should turn out being done at roughly the same time, which is a skill you will develop over time as a cook. So like if you have people coming over and you don't want your mac and cheese to be cold, but you want everything to kind of be hot at the same time, over time you'll develop your skill set to know the order of things, how to do them, so things are done at roughly the same time. I like to eat my food like really hot, so I like for things to be done at the appropriate time altogether. So now that I have my potatoes cut up a little bit, I'm going to put them into my steamer basket. So here are things in the steamer basket. It is not necessary at this point to salt the potatoes, but we do need a lid. So I just remembered that I don't have a lid that is the perfect fit for this pot. I do not know what happened to it, or if I even ever owned one. And I super love that for me because I'm totally not trying to make a really great YouTube video. So this is what I have instead. If that happens to you, just find a lid that will at least cover the entire pot. So ideally you'd have a lid that fits within the grooves and fits properly. So the next best thing is to just cover it completely. The steam will still happen, as long as there's a way for you to keep the steam enclosed in the pot. So try that if what happens to me happens to you. So now let's glove up and take out our chicken and see how it's progressing. So this chicken, it smells so very good in here. It has been in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes and it's looking good, it's smelling good. So I can tell that the onions are all nice and soft. I'm just going to relocate my lemon over on the side for a moment while I flip these over. And as you can probably see, that they're definitely not done. Party's still going. But I'm going to put these back into the oven until they are done. I would think that they probably need another maybe 20 to 30 minutes. I'm gonna put my lemon back on. And now I am going to leave the foil off. So I'm gonna put this back in the oven with no foil. So you can get a little bit of browning. With the lemon on top, it won't be perfectly browned, but I'll put this back in the oven now. So let's check on our potatoes. I have just put the chicken back into the oven, and it's taking a little longer than I thought it would, but you can keep the potatoes warm quite easily by just putting the lid back on the top. So let's check and see how things are going. So I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, but these still have far too much resistance for us to make mashed potatoes with them. So they need to keep on trucking along in their hot water steam bath. So I'm putting the lid back on for now, and we'll just let things cook. So I was able to take some short break and answer some emails. And now I'm back to start on the last part, second to last part of the meal. So if you have been keeping up, you know that our potatoes are steaming and our chicken is in the oven. So let's move on to start to prepare the broccoli, because after the potatoes are done, the broccoli, we will put the broccoli in there. So I am going to start by just chopping off the florets. We're having a very lovely, rainy, stormy day here in Houston where I live. Comment below and let me know what the weather's like where you are. So we have our florets. I have washed this bowl thoroughly from just a few moments ago. And so now, with the stalk, you can peel off the outer part. If you have a peeler, to me, this is the safer way to do it. But honestly, I went years of my life without peeling off the outer layer of the broccoli, and I am a totally normal person, super duper normal. So it's up to you. And these little parts, the little stalk parts, you can also just put them to the side and make vegetable stock out of them, like put them in your stock bucket or whatever. You can compost them if you decide to discard them. But I would say to give it a try to eat and not just totally throw it away. I know it's not as pretty as the floret part, but waste not, want not sometimes, not all the times. So definitely give it a try. It tastes like broccoli. Doesn't really taste that much different from the florets. So I am going to prepare. I'm going to repeat what you see me doing on the other pieces, and then I'll be back. Okay, so you see here that I have all of my broccoli florets and the pieces of the trimmed stalk part. So at this point, just wait until the potatoes are soft enough to make mashed potatoes out of, and then put the broccoli into your steamer and steam. So do not dress, so meaning like season or put oil or whatever on the broccoli right now. It's a little bit of a waste because it's just probably gonna seep into the water, so to speak. So you can just cook it into your desired doneness and then dress it with like salt, pepper, garlic powder, you know, whatever you want. So I will do that later. So I'm gonna sit this aside for right now and check on my potatoes and my chicken. So moving over here to the stove, let's check out the chicken. The timer says we still have 11 minutes, but things are looking really good. I just want to check on it. The nice thing about dark meat chicken is you can kind of let it go for a little bit longer and it won't dry out. So the chicken looks like it's close. It actually looks done, but I will put it back in the oven just to be super duper safe. But it looks really great. I cannot wait to try this chicken. So I'm just putting it back into the oven for 10 minutes and 18 seconds according to the timer. And now I think the potatoes are also done, so let's check those out. Okay, so now, did you see that? Let's see if I can replicate that. You see how easily they're falling apart? And it can just very easily, with almost no resistance, just poke, and they flake very nicely. So this is the point where you can turn off the fire from the potatoes, and I'm going to take them out and go over to the countertop. Okay, now let's work on our potatoes. So how you decide to flavor your potatoes is kind of up to you. Today I am going to use just some really basic seasonings. So I have some milk here and I have my butter. So I am going to use 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm marking my butter roughly because of the reason I mentioned before. So I'm going to use my 2 tablespoons of butter. This butter is not like perfectly room temperature, but it's a little soft. So I'm just gonna kind of chop it up a little bit to make it a little bit easier to mix in and start melting. So these potatoes are fresh out of the steamer, and like I mentioned, my broccoli is now in the steamer. So I'm gonna take some salt. Potatoes love salt, so don't be too shy, but remember what I said, it's easier to add than to take away. So I have my salt, and then now I am going to put in my pepper from my pepper meal, and I have garlic powder. So I'm a little bit light-handed with the garlic powder and the onion powder because I like to just kind of taste potato, you know? And we're also gonna have some white gravy with this. This is definitely a comfort, a comfort kind of meal. So now I added a splash of milk. So I have them kind of mashed up a little bit. And now I'll just take a spoon and kind of work them together. And I see that I want them to be just a teeny bit creamier. Again, we will have white gravy to go on these. So, and like a super normal person, this is all the milk that I have left, and I need some for the white gravy. So I'm trying to also use it a bit sparingly. So now that they're kind of mixed up, we're gonna taste. Oh my gosh, I think, dare I say they're perfect as is? I think they are. Usually I'm too light-handed with the food seasoning, but I think they're pretty gosh darn perfectly seasoned as they are. So I am going to cover these as best I can with my foil from the chicken, And now we will move on to making the gravy. We're in the home stretch, y'all. So back over here at the stove, we have 1 minute and 2 seconds before the chicken is done. And now I'm just checking on the broccoli. So the broccoli is still a little bit, I think they call it crisp tender. So, but it's a little bit still, it needs just a teeny bit longer. So I'm going to put my lid back on. So here we have our chicken at a crooked angle. So now we have our chicken at a better angle. So the way that you can tell, well, this chicken has been cooking for almost an hour. So with it being little bitty drumsticks, I'm very confident that it's done. But you can also poke, and they say if the juices run clear that the chicken is done. Okay, so I have checked the chicken and it is all done. And again, that was an hour, 30 minutes with the foil and 30 minutes without. And this chicken didn't get super brown because it's like covered in lemon. I didn't think of that before. You can also, I think, spread some oil on it to help it get a bit brown, but I am happy with this and I think it looks beautiful and I think it'll taste even better. So the last thing to do is to make the white gravy. Okay, to make your white gravy, you will need equal parts of butter. So this is just the same stick of butter that I've been using. So this is 4 tablespoons of butter. And I am not the best at estimating exactly how much butter makes how much gravy. So I am going to, I think I will use just the rest of this stick. I have turned off the heat for the broccoli. So I'm turning on the heat for my gravy. So I'm just gonna plop the rest of that stick into the pan. So to make the gravy, you need room temperature or cold. It doesn't matter actually with the butter because you're gonna melt it. You need cold milk. So if you're familiar with Chef John, I learned from him that an easy way to make sure that your gravy is not lumpy is to use cold milk. You can also use cold cream. So you will let the butter melt. You also need a whisk. So you'll need a whisk to whisk the gravy. You can also use it to kind of help your butter along. For your seasonings, that'll be up to you, but definitely you'll need some salt and pepper. I like somewhat coarsely ground black pepper because it looks nice in the gravy. It looks pretty. And then so I'm also going to use the onion powder, the same stuff I've been using all day, and some garlic powder. But if you want to add some other stuff to your gravy, I'm just making it like the basic Southern way. But if you want to add some more stuff to your gravy, you knock yourself out. But you will definitely need the salt because you don't want to just eat plain old cooked flour. It'd be weird and gross. Okay, so you see that my butter has started to melt. It has melted all the way. So now I'm going to add equal parts flour. So I have my flour here just under the camera, but you're just going to use equal parts. So it doesn't have to be super exact, but don't overdo it one way or the other. So that's 1, 2. You're basically making like a white roux. If you've ever made gumbo before or something, it's kind of like a similar technique, but you're just gonna make it very white. Okay, so that's our equal parts of flour and butter. So now you're gonna whisk and cook the flour a little bit. So you're just gonna whisk until it starts to look pretty homogeneous. Okay. So we see that it's looking pretty homogeneous. We're gonna turn down the fire or the heat. And now I'm gonna sprinkle in some salt. I'm gonna be a little bit not generous, a little bit shy of generous, because again, what have we learned? We can add, but it's hard to take away. So I added some salt, and now I'm adding some pepper. And now I'm adding a little bit of garlic powder. That's just a pinch. And then a little bit of garlic powder, also just a pinch. And then I'm gonna stir that in to kind of like let the spices, the seasonings fry a little bit before I add the milk. So now to make it gravy, we're gonna add cold milk. So this is all the milk that I have. So I'm just gonna add it all in there and turn up the fire a little bit. It might look like it's curdling. You just keep stirring. So for me, I ran out of milk, so I'm gonna add some water, cold water, to my container and keep stirring. So you can use all milk, or you can use milk and water or cream and water. You do need a little bit of milk in my experience because you need some fat. And now I'm gonna turn it down to medium because we're almost done. I think I need a little bit more water or milk. If you put the water in your milk jug, you can kind of get a little bit more milk out of it. So you will just do this process over medium to low heat until the gravy is to your desired consistency. But eventually it'll get to the point where, you know, it's like that beautiful gravy consistency, like that. So at this point, I'm going to turn the heat off and I'm going to just let this cool down on the spoon so I can taste it. Okay, so as you can probably imagine, my gravy needs quite a bit more salt. So I'm going to use the salt and pepper. And then you just repeat this until it tastes how you want it to taste. You might like your gravy a little salty or whatever, but you just repeat this until it tastes the way you want it to taste. If it gets too tight, too thick, just add a little bit more liquid and you should be good to go. Okay, the last part of our adventure is dressing the broccoli. So trying to film made me leave my broccoli in for a little bit longer than I would like. I like the broccoli to still be bright green, but this is it's still gonna be tasty and edible. So I'm gonna dress it with some salt and some olive oil and some garlic, kind of the same stuff I've been using all day. You can try the spicy stuff, this beautiful, pretty seasoning. You can try that or something similar as well if you would like. I am gonna have just the spicy chicken, so I am just gonna have the more conservatively spiced broccoli. So you can also add some butter. That sounds actually super good. Should have left a little bit of butter out for my broccoli, but definitely once it's this color, it'll be all, you know, fork tender and stuff. I didn't even check it. So just mix it up. Can taste a little bit. It's actually not as overcooked as I thought it would be. So, yay. All right, let's get things going. Okay, so make our plate. So you can start with our chicken. So we have our chicken. Let's try to make it pretty for our YouTube friends. So look at that, that's beautiful. Well, our little lemon slice can kind of cover up the ugly piece of chicken. And we can add a little bit of the onions too. And then we have our mashed potatoes. And I'm going to take this to the stove and put on the gravy. I'll try to, how do you add gravy to make it pretty? I don't know. So to make it pretty, I use this to make a little indentation and then put the gravy like in it. If you went to public school, you probably know exactly what I'm telling you to do. And then I'm gonna add some chives. I don't have parsley. So that, is to make it pretty. And then some broccoli. So let's try to make the broccoli pretty. Oh, YouTube. Okay, so look at that. So this is a really nice meal. You can actually make this on a weeknight. You can actually cook this in like 45 to 50 minutes, basically the time it takes to cook the chicken. If you're not filming. If you're filming, then things will probably, it takes longer. But if you're not filming, this is definitely a nice little situation to make for yourself for dinner one night. So yeah, I am off to eat this now while it's still hot. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. If you're gonna make this, what you would change or what you would do differently. And while you're down there commenting, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button. All right, I will see you in the next one, my very lovely meat bag friends. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.